Hello, YouTube. I am so excited to be with you today. I'm here live, not just helping you become clear, productive, and influential, but I'm here specifically for the mamas who are online right now, especially if you are mom to a baby or a toddler, especially if you are mom who pees when she sneezes, has a little back pain, tight hips, vocal fry, maybe some baby blues, all of these things. I'm here for you. And so, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Hurt. I am a 700-hour certified yoga teacher. I'm a certified voice and speech trainer, and I'm a performance trainer. And I am the owner of Integrative Studio, which is where I help my clients go from feeling stuck to feeling like they are thriving. So I offer personal development, enrichment, and communication coaching. And within all of that is how to feel well and balanced so that you can be your best self and protect your energy. And so I'm here to talk about the 5 conditions mamas don't have to accept and what to do about it. So I'm going to stick to my notes so I stay on course. But I do want to share a personal story before I get into this particular topic. And that's that when I had my daughter 10 years ago, it was absolutely without question the biggest life opening, changing, beautiful moment of my life. But it was also one of the hardest times of my life. I never felt more lonely, more physically in pain, and more lost as a human being than when I became a mom, which nobody talked about that. And I was very confused by these feelings because I felt like, once you have a baby, everything is like roses and butterflies. And of course, in many ways it was, but in many ways it was not. And so I'm here to talk about what I experienced and what I have seen and helped other women experience after they have had a baby. So, having a baby obviously changes a woman emotionally. We feel that mama bear love bond unlike any other time in our life. It changes us physically for life, and it changes us biochemically, which is how your hormones and all these chemicals inside of you affect your mindset. All of these things are forever changed once having a baby. And what I experienced after I had my daughter, who is the light of my life, don't get me wrong, but I went through a period of mourning for the life that I had before becoming a mom. I missed having adult conversations. I missed working. I missed exercising the way I wanted to. I missed sleeping a lot, a whole lot. And I felt just imprisoned by the baby schedule. I'm just being very honest here. And it was really hard for me. And what I've experienced through my clients who've had babies is a lot of guilt over whether they're working or whether they're not working, whether they're nursing or whether they're not nursing. I mean, everybody's got an opinion on how to raise a baby, and it's only for the mom to figure out for herself. And so I'm here to talk about the 5 most common conditions that I experience for myself and with my clients, what I've seen and what I've helped them through, and what you can do about it so you don't feel like you're going crazy. You don't feel like you're in the dark. Everything that I'm about to share with you, I have heavily researched and taught and seen results from. So, of course, with any kind of medical, physical, emotional ailment, you always want to seek professional help from your medical caregiver. But what I'm offering here for you is a supplement to that, something you can do at home, something practical and real that you can do every day to take a sense of agency over your wellness and start to feel better and restore yourself. Okay, let's dive into it. So, Everything I'm about to share, you can read my research and my understanding of it and my talking about it in my new book, The Postpartum Path of Yoga. I have links in the description on where you can pick up a copy today, but this is a 16-week program that takes you through phases to restore yourself physically, mentally, vocally, and spiritually, using as much of a full tenet of yoga as possible. So it also includes yoga philosophy, as well as the poses and meditation and breathing practices. So you can read more about it there, but let's get into the conditions. Now, condition number one, that mama, you do not have to accept as being a norm in your life for the rest of your life. It is postpartum depression and anxiety. The baby blues are very real, and there's a spectrum for how intense these feelings can be. Now, biochemically speaking, a lot of this has to do with the placenta having left your body. The placenta pulls, I think, 7 grams of fat from the brain as it's developing to feed the beautiful baby. But once it leaves your body, like biochemically, you're very imbalanced once it's left. And so that also brings a lot of hormonal shifts. And so that's one reason why you might just start to feel an energetic crash once you've had your baby. A lot of it's to do with the placenta. But another culprit to feeling extraordinary depression and anxiety is the extreme exhaustion mamas feel after they've had a baby. Not only is it physically taxing to deliver a child, whether you have a vaginal delivery or a C-section, they both take their toll. But you're not sleeping at all in the same way as you were before. And sleep deprivation absolutely changes the brain. And so the exhaustion you feel, not only that, but having to be on all those hours of the day to protect this child, especially if you're doing this on your own without help, it's very, very tiring. And so that can make depression and anxiety feel bigger and worse. And also, let's talk about the change of your role. You may have started feeling like an independent professional woman, and now you're a mom, which is great. But there's a lack of the life that you had before, and that can feel very confusing. And it's a transition that takes time to really work through. And so, with any transition, there needs to be a state of grace and some space for yourself to navigate that and to just give yourself a lot of self love and compassion. Now, things that I offer, things that I did when I was a stay at home mom, was I realized that I needed a schedule unlike anything else. And it wasn't a hard schedule, it was very flexible. But I knew that my baby was waking up sometime around 7 a.m. Now, my little girl had a hard time connecting her sleep cycles. And so, for like the first 11 months of her life, she pretty much slept in 20-minute increments. And then I would have to help her connect to the next 20-minute increment. And over time, it became 40 minutes. Then I'd help her an hour, and then I'd help her. But I remember it was 11 and a half months after having her that she slept and I slept 5.5 hours. And it was extraordinary. But it was still like another year before she would get to what I felt like for myself was a full night's sleep. So I needed a routine to keep myself feeling sane. And so she'd wake up in the morning, and I knew that by, say, 10 a.m., we'd be doing books, something with board books, whether we'd go to the library and look at books or look at all of our books that we had. But I knew it was book time. And then I knew that definitely without question at 4 p.m., because that's when my energy was really starting to lag, it was dance party time, music. So I would put on my favorite Depeche Mode playlist, and I would dance party it out with her, just holding her. And as she got bigger, I'd put out all of her musical instruments from like Melissa and Doug, and she would play her instruments and I would dance. And the dancing really, really helped me. And so that's something I offer for you as well to help you through the postpartum depression and anxiety. Movement does help. And when you're playing music that you love, especially if it's music that's of your like former self, your spirit celebrates that. And I also needed a break from the little kid music. We all know what that music is. So, and not to say that it's really good. It's gotten really good, but I needed a break from it. I needed to hear my stuff. But something else that I recommend, and I offer prompts through this book to help with this, is you have to find your tribe. You just have to find your tribe because you are going through a new phase of life and you have to find like souled people who are going through it too to connect with. Now, studies in neuroscience have shown that loneliness can shorten lifespan and that a sense of loneliness can absolutely exacerbate depression and anxiety. And so when you find other mamas or even stay-at-home dads, but babies of about the same age, and you can just get together, even if it's just once a week, put some toys on a blanket and let the babies do tummy time and play with their toys, and you guys just hang out. Super, super helpful. So that's another recommendation I have for helping with the postpartum depression and anxiety. Okay, but it will pass. And if you need to speak with a licensed professional, please, please do so. There's even free hotlines that you can call, that you can look up, but please seek the support that you need, please. Okay, condition number 2. This is why you might pee when you sneeze or you might feel constipated. It's because of a pelvic floor imbalance. So the pelvic floor is what lines the bottom of your pelvis. It's a beautiful, remarkable system of muscles. And there's 2 orientations of them. One orientation goes from pubic bone to the back of the pelvis, right? And it just kind of lines all the way along the back of the pelvis from front to back. And it makes little spaces for the ureter, the vagina, and the anus. But we also have a band that goes from sitting bone to sitting bone, right in the middle towards the pubic bone, okay? So the pelvic floor is a system of muscles, and muscles are elastic by nature, meaning they can expand, they can contract, and the pelvic floor moves in concert at the same time as the breathing diaphragm at the base of your rib cage. So as you breathe in and the thoracic diaphragm goes down, so too does the pelvic floor diaphragm. And as you exhale, the thoracic diaphragm goes up, and so too does the pelvic floor diaphragm. So they work together, and it's really cool. And what they're doing is massaging your internal organs so that physiologically you function at your best. But the pelvic floor takes on a very big load during pregnancy, which makes sense because you are growing a human being, or maybe 2, maybe sometimes 3, depending if you're having multiples, but you're growing a person inside of you. And with that person, you have extra water, you have the placenta, and it's a lot of weight and load for the pelvic floor to carry. Now, it's designed to do this, so there's nothing wrong with that. But we also have imbalances in how we walk. Maybe we have low back pain in pregnancy, and so we change our gait, and that's going to change how your pelvic floor takes the load. My baby was breech, and she sat very snug on the left side of my pelvis for a few months. So guess which side of my pelvic floor got imbalanced? The left side, because it was holding on to this cute little baby tush, whereas the right side wasn't really taking as much of the load. The pelvic floor also responds to the relaxin hormone that is softening the ligaments of your whole body, of all your joints, and is specifically working to soften the pelvis so that the pelvis can get wider and expand to make room for the baby to come through the birth canal. So the pelvic floor takes on a lot over the 40 to 42 weeks of pregnancy. Now, if you have a vaginal delivery, the pelvic floor obviously will open up and expand, and the movement of the baby wiggling on out through the birth canal does help to retone the pelvic floor somewhat, but it still has a lot of work to do to come back to its natural tone. And that's why they recommend walking, breathing well, because that will help rehabilitate the pelvic floor. But also, if you've had a C section, well, the pelvic floor was taking on the load, but it never got that opportunity to renegotiate how to come back together with the baby coming through the birth canal. And so the baby comes out through C section, and then your pelvic floor has to kind of figure out how to come back to its tone. So your pelvic floor, as a result of either of these, can be too tight or it can be loose. And that can lead to incontinence, where you're peeing when you sneeze or when you start to jog or jump up and down. Or it can lead to constipation, but also having a tight pelvic floor can push up on the bladder, which can make you have to pee all the time. But also, a tight pelvic floor can cause hip pain. And so, any of these conditions that you might have, whether it's feeling like your toileting behavior is completely different, feeling like you have hip pain deep in the hip socket, or even feeling like you can't take a really full, yummy breath, that could be a pelvic floor imbalance. Now, if you look on my YouTube channel, I have a couple of videos that have been very, very popular, helping to explore the pelvic floor and restore it through gentle movement and breathing practices. So I highly encourage you take a look at those. You will just find them in my video content. But I also offer, in the Postpartum Path of Yoga, extensive pelvic floor work. And every single yoga pose I have in this book is included to help rehabilitate the pelvic floor, as well as every breathing practice. Because remember, the pelvic floor works in concert with the thoracic diaphragm. So we need to be able to breathe well. So if you're breathing well and you're moving in a healthy way to support your postpartum pelvis, you will help to restore your pelvic floor. So I offer yoga poses in my book that are based on research. So you're not going to see big, wide lunges, because I want you to help put the pelvis back together in a balanced way in that first year postpartum. So you're going to be doing a lot more squats, where the hips can still develop their strength, and you can start to get some tone back to the pelvic floor. Okay. Condition number 3. Now, this is another one that's very common, and that I was stunned that I don't hear a lot of the medical community talking about. And a lot of my mamas in my mama baby yoga classes were completely in the dark about this condition, but it's diastasis recti, also known as diastasis recti, tomato, tomato. But what that is, let me lower my camera here. So we have the six-pack abs, right? The rectus abdominis muscles in the very front of the abdomen. And we have this area here called the linea alba. Now, as you are pregnant and your belly expands, it's very natural for those muscles to get stretched. But as we have the baby and as we come back, we want those abs, those two halves of the rectus abdominis muscles, to come back together like that. But many times there's a separation, right? They have a gap. And what that means is that the abdominal cavity doesn't have quite the support that it had pre-baby. And so that change in pressure in the abdomen can result in low back pain. So because there's an imbalance in the front of the body, everything will shoot towards the back, or it might shoot into the pelvic floor. Now, diastasis recti can also lead to that coning that can happen if you try to do a sit-up, or if you're holding like a full plank, you'll notice like it's like a cone coming out of your belly. If you have that, bring your knees down if you're in plank and come out of it. You're not ready for that. You need to do some work on diastasis recti to bring those two halves of the abdomen together. So, because of this condition, you're not going to see any crunches or abdominal curls in this program, because I am working to help you restore the front sheath of your abdomen through breathing practices and very persnickety postural alignment that I go into detail about. So diastasis recti is one that you can absolutely resolve. If you need extra help with this, just try to find a physical therapist in your area who works with women who've had babies because they'll be able to give you extra help. But I also have a couple of videos on my channel about diastasis recti, how to determine if you have it and how much of a separation you have and what you can do about it. But I also go into a lot of detail about it in my book, The Postpartum Path of Yoga. Okay, condition number 4. Now, this one might not seem a surprise because we just talked about the pelvic floor and we just talked about diastasis recti, but it's a weak core overall. Now, the front line of the abs, the rectus abdominis muscles, are not core muscles per se. The core in the front is your transverse abdominis, which is a more recessive sheath of muscle. And you also have your internal and external obliques on the sides. You have the multifidus on the back line of the body, but also your thoracic diaphragm and your pelvic floor are parts of the core as well. All 6 of these sides, of course, are like a cylinder, and they move in concert to keep you stable, keep you strong, keep you flexible, and keep you breathing well so that you can get that internal massage of your organs and function like a happy, healthy human being. And obviously, because of taking on the load of carrying a pregnancy, everything gets a little stretched out and it needs a little bit of time to come back together safely. But you'll know that your core is feeling weak if you're feeling strain in your hips, strain in your back. If maybe you just feel like you're walking a little crooked, you're just imbalanced, you're going to notice just one side of you is feeling very weak, one side of you maybe is feeling stronger. It's very important to find balance in your core. Now, in a very particular note to the moms, we know that babies are held all the time. And we tend to have a habit of which arm we're holding the baby. For me, I always hold my little girl on the left so I could do things with my right hand because I'm right-handed. But I had to tell myself, change arms and do things left-handed so that I could find balance in how I was holding the load between my left side and my right side. But we also need to find balance and get stronger as the baby gets bigger because they don't realize that they're getting bigger. They might be 4 years old and they still want you to pick them up and carry them to, carry them to the playground or whatever. And you've got to be able to accommodate that and stay strong. So please develop your core in a safe, healthy way, all 6 sides of that beautiful cylinder, so you can grow and stay strong and resilient and healthy with your child. And again, every single yoga practice in this book is designed and sequenced to strengthen your core in a very healthy, mindful way. All right, condition number 5, we're wrapping it up. It is vocal fry. Now, you might think vocal fry, why are we even talking about the voice? Well, I'm a certified voice and speech trainer, and I've worked with hundreds of people with their voices. And I have come to realize through my practice and through my own personal life that when you have a loss of your sense of self and or are sleep deprived and or are talking over another person a lot, your voice will take on a lot of strain. And you may not even be breathing well, which is not going to support the sound stream of your voice. And so that's going to result in a crackly little fry. Then what happens with that fry is we start to lose our voices. Now, if you've ever lost your voice, you know how crazy that feels because nobody can understand your needs. And I always encourage my moms to advocate for themselves as much as possible. So we need to have healthy, expressive voices that feel like our truest self. And so, as an embodied voice and speech trainer, I offer a full curriculum of how to restore your voice in a very healthy way. So it's not just your physical voice, but your spiritual voice going all through every week of this 16-week program. Okay, so all of these 5 conditions are temporary, and you can absolutely restore yourself through all of them. Some of them might be very extreme and need extra support from the medical community, but a lot of them you can do with the postpartum path of yoga. Find a friend to do it with you. And please know that every sequence in the book progressively advances you. So you will find growth through the program. And then I even offer an option for mamas who have completed the 16 weeks and want to take it into stronger poses. I have an extra 3 weeks of the program there as well. So this is a book for really anyone who's had a baby who wants to do gentle yet strong yoga. Strong meaning you are legitimately developing your strength from your deepest parts of yourself with your core, your pelvic floor, and your breath to restore yourself in body, mind, voice, and spirit. So if you have any questions about anything I've said, leave a comment below and I will absolutely tend to them. Check out this book, The Postpartum Path of Yoga. It's available online at all the major retailers. And let's see, what else do I want to share about it real quick? Yeah, there's also meditation practices in the book. So it's breathing practices, mindful movement, voice, and meditation. And I offer a whole chapter on yoga philosophy and how to apply it to your life as a new mom so you can have a balanced, loving kindness mindset as you transition through this new phase of your life. It is my passion to serve you. I want the mamas to feel clear, productive, and influential. I want you to be the best mama you can be, the best woman you can be. And you deserve that. You deserve that. And so let me know how I can be of service to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a comment below. Give this video a like to help it reach more women. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you can stay in touch with me and see the videos as they release. Thank you so much from my heart. Check out the Postpartum Path of Yoga. Take care.